Hello everyone! Since you all, well, 3 out of the 5 people who answered the poll, plus a couple people in the Shatterdisk team, wanted to see a little insider Q&A type video about my versus RecD mod, aka RecD Rampage, I'm here to deliver an answer to all of your questions. Thank you to the people both on the community post and in the Discord who gave me questions. These were all very fun to answer. When RecD plays the rest of the mod, I'll be editing the VOD of him reacting to the whole thing into a cleaner video on my channel. Don't worry, he gave me permission to do so in DMs. Thanks, buddy, for letting me do that. And I'm sure I'll pop in at some point during the edited video to make some funny notes and comments that weren't mentioned here or anywhere else. But until then, let's get to answering some of these questions. And as a side note, in case you notice my voice potentially fluctuating a bit, I'm playing around with how it sounds to make it sound a little bit more, at least androgynous. Let me know what you think of it, and I hope it doesn't impede on your question listening experience. Anyways, let's go to answer these questions. For question number 1, what was the most fun part of development and what was the most difficult? The most fun part for me was probably making the music for mod. I enjoy making music the most, and it's something that never really got tedious throughout most of the development. Some of my worst songs were really just because I was pushing myself to make them when I really shouldn't have. For example, Millie's original first song in version 1, Vehemence, which would later get replaced and updated, was my least favorite, and it was really just because I forced myself to make it when I had little to no motivation to do so. However, the remastered and new songs for version 2 were all spaced out and very fun to make. I hope you all enjoy them. As for the most difficult part, I'd say certain sprites. Buddies was the most painful for his own reasons, which I'll get into later, but making sprites and animating them in general was always kind of tedious, difficult, and time-consuming. That's not to say that I'm not happy. I'm very happy with most of the sprites, especially the ones like front-facing Bobcat or Valenite, who have a different perspective from the typical side view. But nothing took me less than a full day of work to do from start to finish, so sprites were definitely the most difficult. For question number 2, what was your favorite song from the mod? So, funny story actually. I actually decided to rank all of the RecD Rampage tracks in terms of personal preference while I was on a plane flight, because when you're on a plane and bored, you make tier lists of your songs for an FNF mod? Listen, I don't know why I did it, I simply did it and I have the Google Doc. And my top 3 songs were Retribution, Celebration, and Agony, all for pretty different reasons. Retribution, similar to Feudal, has a lot of flair and style to it. It's not the best song in the world, but its uniqueness in visual and style, which are very different from most of the other songs, especially in the recorder solo midway through, bumps it up a lot for me. Celebration is just a really good quality song. Its swing tempo, upbeat feeling, switch of styles and intensity when different people show up, voice lines courtesy of Bobcat the Goat, and special sort of sketchy style that you don't see in any other song all come together to just make a really fun song and just a great experience to play in my opinion. However, Agony does a big mix-up of both. Its style is special, having the bloody, messed up version of the normal background from week 1, and an EXE version of RecD with a megaphone sticking out of his arm and a microphone held from a freaky hand sprouting out of his skull. His name, for those of you who don't know, is actually just Agony, or if you want to add the sort of .exe to the end like in typical Sonic EXE fashion, it's actually agony.rec, the rec standing for the recording for his madness. The lore of him for something isn't something I've actually firmly decided on. Ideas have bounced between him being your typical I am God Sonic EXE thing, but also the thought of Agony being the aftermath of YouTube's Terra on RecD's channel, an entity left to rot and to kill anything that dares to enter the remnants of his channel's realm. In terms of the actual song though, I just love it. The slow start where the transformation happens, the chromatic, the voice line midway through done by Big Man RecD himself that leads into my favorite part of the song, where 3 different electric guitars play at once. All of that mixes together to create a very unique and very intense song with zero triple treble, zero monochrome, zero drowning, drowning, sinking, sinking. And in my opinion, it makes it just that much better. Out of the 3 songs, I think it's clear that Agony is still my favorite, but it really just depends on the day. After all, Oh is pretty peak too, don't you think? Question number 3. How did you feel watching RecD play the mod on stream? Granted, this is being recorded before he's done the full thing, but I feel like this answer will still very much apply. It felt incredible. To say that I was on cloud 9 is honestly an understatement, and I would like to firmly admit that I was pushed to tears from happiness. And it wasn't even the full mod. The first time he played it, it was only the first week and a couple of bonus songs, while the rest are to be done on a separate stream, one that hopefully is going to be done very soon. But either way, watching everyone's reactions to the first week made me smile, and hearing jokes about things like Rex Chromatic being a single vowel or the reactions to Desk and Oh was incredible. I'll never forget the stream where he did the first bit, nor the stream where he'll do the rest of it, where RecD and his team played My Little Thing, and I can firmly say with 100% certainty that the year of waiting and working made it all worth it. For question 4, what was the hardest set of sprites to make for the mod, and what was the easiest? So it's buddy time. For the easiest remastered sprite, it's hard to say. I honestly think I'd say Valenine's. His sprite took some work to properly finagle the camera to work, and considering how his sprite moved in the relationship to the couch in the background, it took a little bit of work. But in terms of the actual animation and sprite itself, it wasn't too bad. I think I got the whole thing done in just over a day. As for the hardest one, it's time to talk about Buddy. So Buddy has 2 sprites, one which is fittingly called, well, Buddy Assets, and the other which is called Lost Cause Assets, due to the fact that the part of his song Feudal where those sprites were used is heavily inspired by the instrumental of the song Lost Cause from the Hypno's Lullaby mod. And oh boy, did these sprites take a lot of work to do. So let's just start off with something that's going to immediately upset everyone, especially anyone and everyone who's ever made and coded custom sprites. You're gonna be upset at me. So I use templates for every sprite. Since I don't know how to code anything custom, especially for sprites, outside of altering some already written stuff, which is again using a template, I had to find some workarounds. If you check, I'm pretty sure that every single sprite, except for maybe 2, have the same scaling and proportions and the exact same XML file as Daddy Dearest. So basically, all of the sprites are copy-pasted from DD, and the new sprites are drawn over his body. Which, when I told this to Biddy, who's someone that I was talking with throughout the whole mod's development. Hi Biddy, how are you doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day. I apologize for reminding you of this thing. She became immediately upset with me, which is very understandable, but then it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. So during the close-up section of Feudal, the background is all black, right? That isn't coded in to switch the background. I was looking for simple downloadable event notes that could change the background, but I couldn't find anything for the life of me. And I know now that through Biddy's FNF mod that I made everything way too complicated because she had something that replaced the background with a flat color, which is exactly what I wanted, but this is before that. Just think from my perspective. You don't know how to code and you don't know how to switch the background, but you do know that sprites are layered on top of the background. So I just think, okay, since I've already scaled up Buddy's sprite a lot, what if I just put a layer of black behind him and that'll be scaled up enough to cover the background? And that would be good, but the issue is that since the sprite is limited to the shape and template of Daddy Dearest, the black box didn't actually cover the whole screen. So I had to manually, in Krita, shrink down the Buddy sprites, and then move them back to fit into the DD's frames, and then put the black layer behind those smaller frames. Then in the FNF engine, I had to scale Buddy up more and make him ginormous, so that way the black would cover the whole screen. Thankfully, it worked and I didn't have to do any more outlandish, tedious work, but that was painful. I made stuff way too hard. I apologize. I can feel your seething. I can feel you about to rage at me in the comments. I allow you to yell at me for this. I'm sorry. For question 5, what would have happened if Rec didn't stop Moop from attacking? If we're ignoring the ability for BF to reset, since this isn't the canon Rec BF at all, especially since he's kind of a douche, the dialogue would be correct. Moop would likely burn down both BF and GF and Rec's house, but the whole everything in a mile radius is a bit exaggerated. She'd probably just burn down Rec's house in between 2 and 4 of the closest houses to Rec's, but nothing more than that. For question 6, is Desk ever going to become a full song? I've been tempted and I have genuinely considered extending it to give a bit more love to Cyan, but every time I've thought about how I'd go about making it longer, I've just pulled a blank. I would if I had ideas on how to make it longer, but that cutoff point of the concussion is just where all of the ideas stop. To be fair though, songs like Desk, which is heavily inspired by the many versions of Beatbox from Orpal Guy, are not really meant to be longer. They're short, so you can have a solo bit that can't easily be built off of because, well, that's all the song is. So the answer is probably, but I just can't get ideas as to how I would right now. Maybe I'll think of something when I'm bored and trying to do music in the future. Next up, question 7. Are there any funny moments during development? So, being a sort of one-girl army for this mod, outside of getting info or help through chatting with people on the Red crew, there weren't really any inside dev team jokes like there are with the Weil Funkin, which is now the Shatterdisk team, which I'm very lucky to be a part of. Hello Shatterdisk people if you're watching. However, I can still give some funny moments. The creation of Desk was very spontaneous. I was mentioning Rect mod stuff during one of Rect's streams, and Cyan, who was there, offered to be a part of the mod, since he had vocals he could send over. I didn't want to say no to someone who was wanting to be part of the mod, but I also really didn't want to add another full set of sprites and a full song to the list when I was really wanting to just finish off everything that I had already written down. So I made the short song of Desk in an afternoon, and made the sprites of stretching his PNG of Discord profile picture made by Bipsy, and then bam, Cyan in the mod. And I love how Rex described it. Cyan gets a concussion, the FNF song. It makes it so much more funny in my opinion. The next funniest I'd say is Medium Large. The song was, as the dialogue explained, based off of a bit that I spawned over a year and a half ago in an old Rect stream. It was originally just the audio of the clip, but one day I thought it would be funny to pull a Skinny Nuts 2 and turn it into a full song. The entire thing was done in one afternoon, and I will never, ever know how to properly feel about it. I would talk about advertisement too, but to be completely honest, I do not at all remember how advertisement came into existence. It's just there, it's just existing. I don't remember. He's just standing there menacingly. Question number 8. Why Rect got the big-ass shoes on? Because funny. He got the grooves on, dude. Look at him. Gaze, foolish mortal, at the schnazziness of the shoes. For question number 9. How did you come up with the songs for the mod? So, usually when I make music, I find a starting melody that I like, and I kind of just build off that. A good chunk of the songs actually have some funny origins, so I'll actually go and describe how some of the story mod songs came to be. There's actually quite the variety of melody origins, which is honestly part of the whole reason that there's so many different song types in the mod, which of course is a good thing, and I'm very glad that there are. Question number 10 from bass musician Oscar V himself. Oh gosh. I love your composition style because of how loose and freeform and almost jazz-like it is. I gotta ask, what kind of music you listen to that inspired such a unique style? Hi Oscar, how are you doing? I didn't expect to see you here. Tim, I really wish I had a coherent answer to this. I don't want to seem dumb in front of Mr. Oscar V himself. Okay. To be completely honest, I just see every song as different. None of the songs are really tied to each other, even if they're part of the same mod. I listen to primarily video game style music, and I do listen to FNF music a lot. Listen, there's a lot of good songs, and which ones I'm listening to is constantly changing. I like Biddle 3, RecD and his original songs, Rareblin, Chrisodoulou, who's the maker of the RecorderDude Rampage V2.0 OST, which is hopefully playing in the background right now, Coco Poofs, bass musician Coco Poofs, and bass musician Oscar V. Mash all these together with some general popular video game music and whatever the hit FNF song of the week is, and you get the me. Another way I always think of it, at least in terms of making the song themselves, is in this kind of process. Step 1, find cool song. Step 2, get idea for my own song. Step 3, look at songs I've recently listened to and ask, do any of them fit the style that I'd picture the idea to be in? Like, is this song going to be more laid back or Risk of Rain 2 final boss type beat? And what songs that have I listened to fit into that category? Step 4, use the song that I like as a model to start building off of. For example, I'm using the FNF song Breach made by Finku as a model for another song that I'm making. Step 5, think for a minute, go, oh, this sounds cool with this, and oh, let's try this out. Repeat 57 times and black out, and then wake up and you have a cool song. This process is seen both with Oh and its B-side, being modeled off of Man and the Vlu Guy Man D-side remix. Feudal is being modeled off of Lost Cause, and other songs that I'm not going to disclose yet, teehee, being modeled off Monger or Adventure by Finku, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Adventure. But yeah, for the actual style, I guess I just listen to a bunch of silly music and combine that with the fact that I make stuff in Soundtrap, and yeah, you get this chaos. My apologies if my explanation sucked, Oscar. I don't know what I'm doing half the time either. I just do, and it sometimes works. Emphasis on the sometimes. And as our final question, number 11, how do you feel after releasing the mod, and what's coming next? I feel incredibly relieved to have this massive damn project out, and I am very ready to move on to other sillies. As for what's next, I'm a part of a few mod teams that aren't just me. I'm incredibly lucky to be a part of the Shatterdisc team, who's developing Wild Wild Funkin', Silly Night Shitposting, and hopefully more to come to you in the future. And it has been wonderful to be a part of this team so far. You can expect some very cool stuff from us coming hopefully soon, since Wild Wild's unfortunately been on a bit of a hiatus recently. There are many people working on multiple mods at once because we're lunatics. As for what's next in terms of personal stuff, I have many things in mind. There's a couple lyrical covers of songs, currently the Castellet from the Scampton fight, the Undertale fan game. There's a bunch of original songs and remixes, and potentially some other stuff on my original Pokemon region. It really just depends on what people want to see next and what my silly little brain decides to give the silly little endorphins of silly little motivation for next. But whatever's coming next, I hope that you'll stay tuned and be excited to see what I'm going to be making next. And that, guys, gals, and galloping horses, and everything else in between, that is all of the questions that we have today. I came up with that sentence incredibly on the spot. I don't have an outro script written. I'm very tired. This thing is 20 minutes long, but like I lost recording stuff originally because I had altered a thing and didn't notice, and it made my voice sound all fuzzy and bad, so I had to re-record basically all of this. And not having an outro script, I'm tired. But I hope you enjoyed the RecD mod. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you go play it, especially if you're a fan of RecD's content. Everyone who's seen it has enjoyed it, and everyone who's on the team that's seen it has also enjoyed it. And you know, I know that this is the very stereotypical dumb YouTuber thing to do, but you know, I'm a small channel and I'm really appreciating all the support, so if you like the stuff I've done with the RecD mod, if you like my music and my art, maybe think of subscribing. I don't know. That's just a thought, because you know, you can see more of my silly stuff and it'll get my brain to produce the endorphins and the sweet dopamine that is required sometimes to get me to make the silly stuff. And I would greatly appreciate it. But anyways, that's all from me. I hope you're all have a good rest of the day, and if not, that tomorrow is much better for you. And hopefully I'll see you all soon. See ya.